Hey guys, it's Tara. So I want to talk to you guys about autism. And I want to talk about my son and the process of getting him diagnosed, what we've been going through, and stuff like that. So this is going to be a long one. Be prepared. So let's start off with back in probably, I want to say October or November of 2019. My son was, I want to say 21, 22 months old. He was not even 2 yet. And I've had a suspicion of autism. I've had this suspicion since he was about 16, 17 months. And I knew at 15 months that he was different. I knew that he was very different from kids his age and very different from kids younger than him. And I knew something was going on. I just didn't know what. I was thinking ADHD. And then I started looking into autism. And I watched autism videos from autism parents a lot. Hence one of the reasons why I'm doing this YouTube channel. Because I watch them a lot. I spent hours upon hours researching autism. Watching a bunch of YouTube videos from autism professionals, autism moms, all of them. And I brought it up to my son's early intervention instructor. My son's in early intervention. He's going to be transitioning to immediate unit, which is like the preschool intervention. Oh, there's my dog. Which is like the preschool intervention when he's 3. But I brought it up to his early intervention. I said, hey, I think Mason might be autistic. Now, these people, when you tell them something like that, they are supposed to record it, write it down in their notes, report it to the supervisor, and they need to talk to you about it. Hey, why do you think so? Blah, blah, blah. And they are not supposed to diagnose or give their opinion. They're not supposed to do any of that. Mason's early interventions teacher at the time, he literally looked at us and said, Mason's not autistic because when I come to the door to come over for a session, he greets me at the door. An autistic child would hide away. Wrong. I have learned with researching my autism information, and I've heard it said repeatedly. When you know one autistic child, you only know one. Every child is different. That is why it is a spectrum disorder. Every child is completely different. So I was like, whatever, and then I moved on from it. Then I had a couple people come to me and be like, hey, Tara, I noticed this about Mason. These people are educators. These people are people that worked in the behavioral health, and they've worked with autistic children. There's my dogs playing in the background. And you can hear my daughter if you hear her. They know what they're talking about. So they came to me and I was like, okay, I will talk to his doctor about it. So in April of 2020, I brought it up to his doctor. I was like, hey, Some people are coming up to me. I've had this feeling of Mason being autistic. And she was like, I'm glad you said something to me, because if you didn't, I would have said something to you, because I've noticed. He's been seeing this doctor since he was 2 years old. And when he turned 2, we switched doctors. And she was like, yeah, I noticed something. So, she put in the referral for him to be seen and get an evaluation. We were going through one place to get this evaluation done, but because of COVID-19, things changed. So, sorry, lost my train of thought. So, I want to say about June. About June, I finally got the paper. It was like end of June. I finally got the paperwork for the place to fill out for Mason. And they still didn't know when they were going to do scheduling because of COVID-19. So I called his insurance about July. I called his insurance end of July. I called his insurance. I was like, hey, this place don't know when they're going to be. Hey. Sorry about that. Lost my train of thought because of my dogs. I was like, hey, this place doesn't know when they're going to be starting evaluations. I need to get my son evaluated. It's been since April. I'm living in questioning here. Bubbles, stop. I'm living in questioning here. I don't know what is going on. Bubbles, stop. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so they're like, all right, let me find a place. They found a place. And they were able to get me the first appointment in September, I'm sorry. Beginning of September. September 3rd of this month. And then just yesterday, we had the second appointment where we were able to get the diagnosis. And he was diagnosed as high-functioning autism. And then there was going to be a third appointment to do feedback, which I had to fill out some paperwork, which I already did, about what he needs for therapies and stuff like that. As a mom going through this process, I will say it is a rough process. The diagnosis is probably the toughest part about having an autistic child, in my opinion. Yes, there's dealing with the actual autism and stuff. Yes, that's rough. But the process to getting diagnosis is rough. It's long, very long. You're going to get a lot of opinions. You're going to get people who are not educated that's like, your child's not autistic, especially if you have a high-functioning autistic child. A lot of people think of autism as the low-functioning autism, and they're like, your child's not autistic. Like, I got that a lot, especially my mother. She was very in denial of it all, and she just didn't understand. Even when I called her and told her, hey, Mason was diagnosed autism, high functioning. Well, did you tell the doctor that he's smart? Like, high functioning autism has nothing to do with their intelligence. My son knows his colors. Most of his colors. My son can count. Somewhat count. My son doesn't really know his alphabet. He knows B, C, O. And when he sees A, he says apple instead of A. But their intelligence has nothing to do with autism, because autism is cognitive and social issues. It has nothing to do with their intelligence. So I explained to my mother, hey, that's not what autism is about. So you're going to get a lot of people that's going to try to diagnose your child. Like, and hopefully this never happens to anybody, but we had somebody on my son's team that tried to diagnose my child. Yes, before you ask, we did switch instructors. So he had a different early intervention instructor, and she is absolutely amazing. She's on maternity leave. We miss her so much. But she's never tried to diagnose my child. She's like, hey, I see these red flags. Let's get him evaluated. He's got an occupational therapist. Never tried to diagnose him. She wouldn't even give me her opinion. She kind of said it without actually saying it. But she kept pushing on, hey, did you get him diagnosed? Did you get him diagnosed? And a speech therapist, she told me she never gave her opinion. But our last session right before which was the day before I had his evaluation, she's like, his symptoms are very obvious, so you're most likely going to get a diagnosis that day. Which I didn't care, because like we all know his symptoms was obvious. But, so you're going to get people to try to diagnose your child. It's a long process. And then you're going to doubt yourself. I can't tell you how many times I would compare my son to another autistic child and be like, oh, he's not that bad. You know, oh, he can do this. That autistic kid can't do that. Maybe he's not autistic. Are you sure he's autistic? I hope he's autistic. Well, I hope he's autistic. My bad. I hope, like, we can get the answers that he is autistic. His pediatric doctor, she even told me, she was like, I cannot diagnose him legally, but he's definitely autistic. She's like, it's not the matter of if, it's the matter of where in the spectrum he falls, because she couldn't determine where he falls on the spectrum. But it's definitely a process, and it's very difficult. And then plus you cannot label it. So when you're talking about their symptoms, and you want to talk about having autistic child, but you know that they're autistic, but when you say autistic, people are like, well, he's not diagnosed yet. How do you know he's autistic? So you're like, you know, people are like, why are you so obsessed with a label? Because sometimes you just need a label. Sometimes you just need a label just to label it so you know what's going on. It is very confusing. It's very frustrating. I can't tell you how many times I've cried, how much depression I went into because of dealing with it, and because of not knowing what's going on and not being able to tell anybody because you can't say it because he's not diagnosed. But it is a rough process. But it's worth it. It really, really, really is worth it. Having an autistic child is hard. Every child's different, but with my autistic child, when we take him anywhere, I literally have to follow him if we go over someone's house and constantly pull him away from things because he grabs and he gets into things. He's got that sensory where he's got to touch and grab everything. He's a very horrible eater. There's certain things he will eat, and even sometimes those certain things he will not eat. He's horrible with sleep. Absolutely horrible. There's no putting him on a schedule. I've tried. It's not happening for him. Very horrible at sleeping. We have to give him melatonin and increase his melatonin. And hopefully now that like he's got his diagnosis, hopefully we can get him on better sleeping medication, because the melatonin is just not working and it's not putting him to sleep. Doctor's appointments are really hard. We have to hold him down just for them to listen to his heart, for them to do anything on him. He's nonverbal. So I see videos all the time of moms posting cute things their kids are saying. And I can't relate because my kid's nonverbal. My child doesn't talk. He is crazy. Very crazy. It's hard trying to find a babysitter because people just don't want to deal with him, honestly. Like, it's horrible and sad to say, but people do not want to deal with him because he's hard. He's a special needs child. I stay home a lot. I do not go to people's houses because it's just not worth my energy. Going grocery shopping is impossible. He's always grabbing things out of the cart. And I could literally talk forever about the struggles that we go through as having an autistic child. But I want to encourage you moms, and I want to tell you guys that it is okay. It is okay to be crying. It is okay to be sad. It's okay to struggle. There's special needs, you know, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be rough. The process of getting diagnosis is really, really, really rough. But it's worth it. It really, really is worth it. And my biggest advice is to follow your instincts, because there are going to be people that try to tell you that your motherly instincts are wrong. And I'm here to tell you, motherly instincts are so accurate, and you need to follow them. If you feel like there is something wrong with your child, and there's something that's out of the ordinary, I wouldn't say something wrong, but if there's something out of the ordinary with your child, you need to speak up. My child is nonverbal. He does not have a voice. I have to be his voice. His speech therapist told me the other day that I am an amazing advocate, because when I seen Mason being mistreated, I said something. We switched doctors for Mason because from when he was 9 months, when he saw his one doctor, because we moved states at 9 months, until he was 20 months, they did not check up on his milestones. They did not ask about any milestones. All they did was check his physical health, and that's it. They didn't ask what he's doing, what's going on, none of that. At his 20 months, I finally spoke up. I was like, hey, nobody's checking his milestones. Nobody's doing anything. I'm living here in the dark. My kid is behind, and I feel like it's my fault because I'm letting you guys do this to my kid. So after that, we decided to change doctors. And I'm so glad that we did that, because his doctor he is now is amazing. I love her. She is amazing. She's great with Mason. She understands Mason. She's great with my daughter. Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. And then I had to stand up with him and his autism. I had somebody from his team, his professional team, tell me he's not autistic, trying to diagnose my kid. So I had to stand up and say something. Hey, this is not cool. And there was a lot of other things that he was doing that was not okay, like telling us how we need to discipline my kid, telling us how it should be done, stuff like that. It was not a good situation. And I had to advocate for him and be like, hey, he's being mistreated and this is not okay. And with my anxiety, I have anxiety, and it's very hard for me to stand up. I can't even stand up for myself. But I've learned with my children, these are my children. And these people in their team are supposed to help my children. And if they're not helping my child, I need to do something. I need to say something. So that's what I did. And since I've kept advocating, the one place is taking too long, which I understand, it's COVID. I get it. But I'm like, my kid needs a diagnosis. My kid needs help. He is struggling. He's not doing well. He needs help. I know there's a pandemic going on, but pandemic or not, we as parents are still suffering. We still have things going on. A pandemic doesn't stop an autistic child from being autistic. So I was like, I need another place. There's got to be a place out there that's going to help my kid. So I stood up and said something, and I found a place. And look at this. I thought I was not going to get a diagnosis until at least winter time, maybe spring. We aren't even at fall time yet, technically, and I have the diagnosis finally. Finally, I have his diagnosis. He is high-functioning autism. Finally got it. So it is so, so important to speak up. Say something, mamas. Say something. It is so important to advocate for your child. So I'm going to put an end to this video because it's been 20 minutes. If you haven't noticed, I like to ramble. And then I have ADHD, so I, skip around. If I say something and it reminds me of something else, I'll go to that something else, and then I have to come back. So me talking and storytelling is a little difficult to try to keep track, but, we're going to work on it. We're going to work on it. So thank you guys so much. I'm so sorry for how long this video was. If you stayed and watched the whole thing, I do appreciate it. If not, it's okay. Make sure you subscribe. I'm going to keep talking about hot topics here when it comes to parenting, autism, breastfeeding, mental health, suicide, all that good stuff. So stay with me. I'm going to get these together. I'm going to post them. And then I'll be posting more videos soon. I'm going to try to post weekly. I don't know what day of the week I'm going to be posting, but I'm going to try to post weekly, and probably Sunday, Monday. Monday will probably be the day of posting. I want to go through these videos before I post them, and probably post them on Monday. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for listening. Bye.